All right, I'll call the meeting back to order to reconvene in open session. We were in closed session earlier. Welcome everyone to the regular school board meeting for the Amery Board of Education. And the first item on the agenda is the spotlight on education, recognizing Mr. Derek Meyer.
Okay, Derek, you can't do it from over there. You got to come up here and let us recognize you. Come up front. We have a Herb Cole Foundation Teacher Fellowship Award recipient. There are 100 Wisconsin teachers in the state of Wisconsin that receive that, named after the namesake of Herb Cole, obviously former senator. It's in its 30th year of recognition that we've been doing this in the state of Wisconsin. And our very own Derek Meyer is the recipient of a $6,000 teacher fellowship. In the district, it's a matching amount of $6,000. I could run through Derek's bio here in the district, but we might be here a little longer than we would like to be. Rest assured, he spends a little bit of time doing ag and a little bit of time doing some FFA, and also a little bit of time doing some driver's ed, but that's the third on the list, so to speak. So I'm not sure if any board members wanted to chime in or you wanted to say anything, Derek, but we certainly wanted to recognize you because this is an exceptional thing. So congratulations to you, and congratulations for the honor.
Thank you.
You have anything to say for yourself?
Sure. The neat thing is that I got the Herb Cole Scholarship when I was a student. So I got it on both sides, which was really kind of a unique thing. And I could think back to my favorite teachers in the whole world. Gwen Pickett, she was my kindergarten teacher. She got it. And my sixth grade teacher, Mrs. Fisher, she also received it. And it was always a goal of mine to be just like them. They were some of my idols growing up. And so it really is a true honor for me to get this scholarship. I really want to thank my family, my wife, for just being the backbone to our family and being able to allow me to do the things that I do. I'm a workaholic, and she allows me to do that, and our family thrives because of her. And so I just want to make sure everybody that she gets a recognition that she really deserves. And I really do want to thank the administration for allowing me to do the things that I do. I came from a school district that I got written up one time because I took the kids outside to actually prune some trees around the school. And I remember thinking, that is not the kind of place that I want to work. I wanted to go to a place that allows me to experience. I want the kids to experience learning. And Amery is the best at that. The only place I can think of where I can train horses, landscaping, I can go out there and I can actually landscape somebody's house. The list just goes on, the greenhouse that I have, all the animals. How do you teach a small animals class without animals? It'd be like teaching, English without, any books. I want to thank Mr. Derfler. He's been with me almost the whole time. And Mr. Gould for allowing me to do the things that I think are important and listening to my crazy ideas, because I have so many of them. I'm always thinking to the future of what we can do to make this better. And Mr. Derfler was right with me even this winter, thinking about the next step of where we want to take this program and what we can do for our kids. And so there's not many places that you can do that, and you can live out your dreams. So, thank you.
Thank you.
On a personal note, I can say the greatest pleasure that I've ever had in education is the ability to work with teachers and other educators, and Derek is an example of that. And I'm going to say it because the room's probably thinking it. We want to thank you on behalf of thousands of kids that you've worked with over the time that you've been in education, because they're the recipients of all of your hard work. So, thank you. Okay.
I just wanted to add in a personal note for Derek, because I've known him for a long time. I've had 4 kids go through the program down there. I was an ag teacher myself. FFA, grew up doing FFA. Keith was an ag guy and an FFA guy, and we know how valuable those experiences are for our kids. There are truly kids who, struggle having a place and to get their science credits and to get those things that we value and that they need in the world. And boy, Derek really just gives them a place to thrive and to shine and to find their own and to go out and have great careers after high school that, these kids some of them don't want to go on to secondary education, post-secondary education, and some do. And that program gives all of those kids an opportunity to go as far as they want to go, either way they want to go. And you have put countless hours in. I know because I'm here picking up my kids at midnight. So we thank you. We thank Debbie. I'm glad that you had 4 girls so that you want to be out of the house. I get it. So we just thank you for all the work you've done, all the years you've put in, and we hope you're with us for a long time.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item are the consent agenda items. So who had the vouchers this month?
I did. And everything is in order, and so I would go ahead and move that we approve the consent agenda items as given.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the consent agenda items and vouchers are approved. Is there anyone signed up for community comments?
No.
All right. Then next we'll move on to administrative reports.
Okay, we'll turn it over to administrators. Josh is going to bat lead off here. You got to come up to the mic on this one.
All right, I'll leave the sports updates to Mr. Fern here in a little bit, but nothing major to report there. Past month, the events that we have had, we did have the senior parade. We also honored our retiring teachers that same night. Very successful computer return. We didn't know how this was going to work out, getting all of our books back, computers back, but at the high school, and actually I think the other buildings report similar things, we've been pretty successful in getting most of our devices and books back. Future events, we'll be getting a little bit of a facelift on our flooring in the main hallways at the high school. Hoping to start that in the next couple of weeks. Making a lot of great progress on our summer cleaning right now. And then July 15th, 16th, we'll be talking more about this later as one of your action items. Potential for senior graduation practice and our potential for our graduation ceremony, but we'll touch on that more a little bit later. So.
Tom.
All right, just like Mr. Gould said, we had a very successful computer return as well. Although we did get our last one back today.
We got it back.
Better late than never.
We were happy with that, and otherwise, pretty much there wasn't really a lot of difference between, other than the computers, than textbooks and things. The kids did a really nice job, and the parents did a nice job. I know in our building it's been really busy with food distributions, and now that's being moved to this building, but that's been a really great thing, and I want to really thank the food service, Stacey and Elson, and all the staff and volunteers that are out every day making that, or every week making that work, and I think the parents really appreciate it, and they do a great job. We are also getting a facelift on carpet at the middle school in the hallways only, but we're excited for that. Upcoming things, we just interviewed last week for 8th grade English, and I'm hoping that will be on the agenda tonight for acceptance, so we're excited for that. Had a last second person that resigned. Ms. Schock and I are interviewing on Thursday for a 3rd through 6th grade music and band position. It's been really different, I can tell you. This is the first year in my 21 years that I haven't had summer school in my building, and it's eerily quiet. And I kind of miss the summer. It was always kind of a rite of passage to hit the summer and see these kids, and they're really excited about their summer school classes. So that's been disappointing. It's been different, and we've been able to move quicker on some of the cleaning of the building. I know that on the agenda coming up, all of the administration is going to be working really hard in the next month, planning out our beginning of the school year, and I'm sure I saw that's on the agenda, so I won't touch that. And I know Mr. Burns is going to talk about sports, so I'm going to say it, and then he's going to say it. We need middle school volleyball coaches. 3 of them. So if you know anything about volleyball, you're hired.
We have 4 board members and 3 positions.
There you go.
Just saying.
Yep, Mom said Spike is on.
Plenty of YouTube videos for you.
Mom said
Sorry,
Spike, you're in.
I think there's some rules about that in our handbooks that we can't
Oh,
do that.
you're off the hook.
We could volunteer, I suppose.
Very good. And the other thing too, I think we're excited because we're going to be taking a look at our attendance policy coming up here soon too, and how that's going to work with the COVID situation. So there's a lot of different behind the scenes things that people don't realize have to be adjusted.
And Ms. Schock?
And I, of course, would just echo what Tom and Josh said about the end of the year. It went really well. Our staff and preparing for the student pickup of their belongings and the drop-off of computers and library books went really, really well. I have just one computer that is left out there, and I talked to the mom today, so we'll be getting that one back as well. But just, we continued those last couple weeks where we had teachers in, where I was able to meet with all of my teachers that were on the evaluation cycle, and I gave them the opportunity of meeting either Zoom or in my office, and all but one wanted to meet in my office. So it was really great to reconnect with those teachers after being gone all that time. Purchase orders were placed this week for the instructional materials that you approved for applied arts in the area of art, music, family, consumer ed, and business. And so we'll be anxious to have those all placed and ordered as of the 1st of July, and then they will quickly be coming in. I know that Christy was working on high school sewing machines and middle school sewing machines. High commodity right now. Didn't know that that was one of the things that COVID created, was a shortage in sewing machines. But we've got the edge on it, so we'll be getting them in as soon as they're available. And then next year, our for 2021 budget will be dedicated for 6th through 12th grade ELA. So they will take this next year to study, and then we will be presenting to you next spring with the purchase of those materials next summer. So other than that, things are going great. We're cleaning around the building, preparing for, we have Montessori coming in, so we're preparing their room. We moved one of our AIM rooms over, and so Mr. McMurphy will be over where Mr. Hawkinson was, so doing a little bit of changing, but overall, the building is in wonderful shape, so we're just cleaning and nothing is being repaired.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, and then Mr. Baumgartner. Mrs. Meyer is unable to be here tonight.
All right, well, the wrap-up, similarly, you've heard from my colleagues here, a lot of different things in the months of May and June. With respect to special education, a lot of it is kind of tying up all the data pieces and the data systems that we have and that we work with. So whether that's the IEPs, evaluations, making sure that those are all archived, mailed out. Teachers have done a wonderful job in communicating, getting those where they need to be. Over the past year, we've also moved our seclusion restraint reporting as well as our 504 evaluations and plans into OASIS, which is our online data management system. And that's been really quite successful in terms of that transition, and that will allow us, as we do those reports upcoming in the future, especially with respect to restraint to seclusion, just really to go in and do some reporting, and it's really clicking a button, and we'll have it right into an Excel spreadsheet. And so I think that will be both easier on all our staff and just a more efficient way to report. We've got OASIS will roll over, and our Power School will roll over soon in terms of updating student information. So we're working pretty closely with Mr. Whalen on that. Other than that, what happens in the summer a lot is considering student safety, especially for some of our high needs transitions and most severe students. It might need either changing tables, physical therapy equipment, adaptive equipment, that sort of thing. We're looking at ordering those, working with families, making sure that they know where that equipment, what that equipment is, consulting with companies to make sure that whether it's a stander or a gate trainer, that's going to be functional equipment come fall and be ready for students on day one. And with that, I'd just like to, facilities is a really important piece to that. A lot of times we order equipment, we need to be in a building at a certain time, or we need to have something installed, and there's a lot of different communication to that, whether it's where does this go, how does it need to be mounted, those sorts of things. And I'd just like to commend everybody from custodians to Mr. Siegsworth, everyone in terms of the quick communication and what they do to help us prepare the buildings and equipment so that kids are safe when they come back. The only other thing in development, one of the other things in development would just be paraeducator training. It's been a focus over the last couple of years, just both in communication, but really looking at the onboarding process. We have had protocols, not to say that we have not. We've certainly worked with our paras and provided training. This is just a way to kind of relook at that, update it, and I've been working with CISA 11 and Melissa Moe, who has some training materials as well for that. So those are a few updates. We're just looking forward to, as everyone is, what the fall looks like, and yeah, excited to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more administrative reports? Okay.
That is it.
All right, next we'll move on to informational items. The first item would be the spring AGR performance report by Mrs. Schock.
Okay. And I am here on behalf of Mrs. Meyer and myself. And so I will go through the report with you, but it isn't a full report because we were able to do fall testing, and then right before the shutdown we did what we call our winter or spring testing, but we weren't able to do our end of the year testing. So the numbers that you see in the report are as of what we had at the end of the school closing. And so we'll run through those, and then I just want to make a comment about COVID and how we addressed our students' needs. Kindergarten in reading, in all of these, kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, our goal is to have 80% of the students at or above the 25th percentile. So that goal never changes. This is always the same. So in kindergarten, the fall benchmark was 73.2%. And in the spring and March was 69.3. In math, 76.8 in the fall and 86.8 in the spring. For first grade, once again remember that it's all the same goal. In the fall for reading, 85.4%, and in the spring, 86.5. For math, in the fall, they had 80.2%, and in the spring, exactly 82.2% as well. Second grade, fall benchmark was 67.2 in reading, and in spring, it was 73.4. In math, 79.4 in the fall, and 82.5 in the spring. Third grade, we have, for reading, we have 66% in the fall and 76 in the spring, and math, 77% and 87 in the spring. And if you notice that our math scores have jumped, and that was definitely one of the things that we've been working on, as you know that we've reported that. And so we're seeing the benefits of the programs that we have for math in kindergarten through third grade. Okay? So then I'm just going to read to you the scores reported for the school district of Amery are the most up-to-date scores that we have available before the COVID-19 shutdown on March 17th. The school district provided virtual education to students in 4K through 12th grade. Students in designated AGR classes were provided with online virtual education in targeting reading and math. In addition, students received additional resource packets weekly through the U.S. postal system. In addition, in order to provide a comprehensive virtual education, staff designated their office hours to help support families during this unprecedented time in education. They also provided support through a variety of different online tools such as Zoom, Google Classroom, Google Meets, and Seesaw. Throughout this time period, additional professional development was provided to staff in order to learn how to negotiate through these unprecedented times. Although the school district designated many tools and resources needed in order to provide an effective education to our students during the COVID-19 shutdown, it certainly isn't anything that we want to repeat. We believe there is no replacement to face-to-face education, not only for our students and staff, but for our families as well. We are and will continue to be concerned about the mental health of our families, students, and caretakers alike. And of course, we're all hopeful that in the fall, the students will be back. Any questions about the AGR report?
Not so much about the report, but your statement at the end said that you guys had professional development hours for learning how to implement like the Google Classroom and the Zooms and things like that. So you guys had to learn how to use it. Mm-hmm. So how did we do with our kids? I mean, because they didn't get professional development to learn how to use all this. Mm-hmm. How did our kids adjust to? We all know that they're pretty tech savvy anyway.
Yes.
But
yes,
like us parents, we struggled. Like with,
and that's true. A lot of kids struggled. A lot of teachers struggled. Kids struggled. But we were all, we were all in it together. We did the best job we could with the situation we had. It was amazing how teachers bonded and got going and shared resources within their district and said, oh, I can handle that part if you will take this part. Kids, we got right down. Annie Brayton was just amazing, and so was Greta Halverson, our two tech people as far as educational software is concerned. And they were on the phone with parents and get the computer out and I'll show you where to go. And so I think that overall it was very successful.
Do you think that our kids suffered any not being able to connect or get on or use the technology in a way that was productive for them to meet their homework needs?
Absolutely. I think there's probably kids that suffered all over the world, not just here.
For sure.
But it would be unfair to say that no, everyone didn't suffer. No, I think that they did. I'm sure that they did. And that was the reason for our quote here too, is we need kids in school. We want them here. We want our teachers here, because this is where we can make a difference.
Not getting ahead in the agenda, part of the guidance that came out today, there's a whole section on social and emotional well-being of kids. It's got nothing to do with academics, and this has not been good for kids socially and emotionally. They need to be here with their friends and doing their thing as kids, and that's been hard. I have 3 elementary kids, and I full well know. As an aside, though, the best part for me in doing Zoom was I told them they can hear everything you're saying. I didn't tell them there was a mute button, but then they figured it out.
Yeah.
Because kids just know.
So they were deadly quiet.
But these are things that we're going to be talking about coming up in fall, and how do we go about that, and the structure that the kids don't have at home versus here. I mean, it's no different than me going home and trying to do. That's not fair because I work at home. Yeah. But if you worked and you had to take your work home, there's a million other distractions. There's things to do. When you're at school, your job is school. So
it was a challenge. There's no doubt about it for everyone.
I think the 2 biggest challenges I had was the ones that did not have technology. And although we worked as best as we could there, and that's something we're going to take a look at if we do go back to this. But the other one was just apathetic, where the parent could not get the student motivated to do what we were asking. And we tried so many ways, Zoom meetings, one-on-one, all of that, and they just shut down on them. We're not cooperative, and that was the hardest part. And see, that's where with us, we have all kinds of techniques and one-on-one that we're doing, and we can't always do.
Absolutely. The other thing that I noticed was, you could focus on the reading and the math, but things like Phi-Ed and music, and you kind of are like, well, we watched a musical and we listened to some music and we went outside and played. But you know what I mean? It's much different than getting actual instruction time, or applied arts classes. Like, sorry, you have, tech ed, here's a hammer. I don't know.
I think Aurelie said it best. There's no replacement for them being here. And that is our ambition and our goal for the fall, for them to be here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item for informational items is the Student Achievement and Technology Strategic Plan Update.
All right, I'm back. Clint's coming up here with me.
One cow, 2 calves.
Okay.
Now remember, this is an offshoot of the strategic plan developed some 5 years ago. This is one of the branches of 5 of those branches, Student Achievement and Technology. Now I'll turn it over to you guys.
And I'm only going to just talk to you about the highlights that are in yellow, but just a reminder to what our goals are. We have 3. The first one is the students of the Amery School District will demonstrate academic success as well as college and career readiness through a continuum of diversified academic opportunities encompassing real-life opportunities and alternative ways to demonstrate success. So one of the things that we have been exploring, as you know, are makerspace. And we said that we were creating 3 makerspace areas, one at the elementary, one at the intermediate, and one at the middle school. But when we met to talk about what things were available at the high school, we said no. We have makerspaces available in all 4 buildings because the high school in the media center down in the corner includes 3D printers, 3D pens, virtual reality, green screen, stop motion, and 7 ED breakout boxes. So we really feel that we have makerspace areas in all 4 buildings. Just a side note for the EIE kits is something that we use at the elementary and the intermediate. And the kits at the elementary, this year they took time to have them mapped out and are using them in their curriculum. So we're very happy to hear about that. The next area I want to talk about is the incentive grant money. As you know, because we offer the high school CTE academies, we receive incentive grant money. In 2018, there was $27,873 that came through that program. As of right now, for 2019, that money hasn't been reported yet. But during the 1920 school year, we had the second house was constructed and possible sale. We had catering class expansion, as well as the hydroponics was infused into the regular curriculum in the Ag ACT or the Ag CTE Academy. Next, we want to talk about our AP classes, and one of our goals is to increase the participation in AP classes. In 1819, there were 77 tests that were taken, and then in 1920, we actually had more kids in line to take tests, but because of COVID and the shutdown, we had students that preferred not to take the tests. Actually, 28 of them dropped due to the COVID shutdown. So we had 69 tests that were actually taken, which is wonderful compared to 77 last year. So we're still progressing in that area.
Do we not have results for those AT tests? Probably not yet.
No, I don't believe so. No, July. Okay? Youth Apprentice, as you know, we have a fabulous Youth Apprentice program, and we currently have 59 students, which is outstanding number of students in that program. All right, and then we'll continue on. We actually, it's just more information about the ACT, or not ACT, the AP testing. And Amery leads the middle border with transcripted credits. We have 33 transcripted credits, with most of the other schools in the area having 10 or less. So that's wonderful, okay? Looking at the second goal is to have students at the Amery School District will demonstrate academic success as well as college and career readiness. And in this goal, what we want to do is make sure that we're providing traditional programming as well as increasing access to non-traditional programs as well. And so we have continued to provide PDH, staff development, which was implemented 2 years ago, and that is very, very popular. Teachers use it extensively. In a CREATE program that's offered at the middle school, is they were on board to start second semester of 2020 with 4 classes. And as you know, that started with just one class that met for, was it just a semester?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, and they moved to quarter classes to get more kids involved. They did a successful sign project for a community.
Yeah, even during the COVID.
Yeah, they
Right.
finished it through.
Yes.
Did a great job.
So everything else that you see there, that is new, but the rest of it is everything that we're doing. If you go all the way down to number 5 on there, that is expansion of Montessori, which will be starting in 4th grade this year here at the intermediate school, and then that will lead to 5th grade next year. So this year it will be just a 4th grade class, and then next year will be a two combined 4th and 5th grade classes. And then also the board approval for the middle school to return to their modified block schedule for the fall. So that's all part of that. And then we have our third goal, and that is technology, and I'm going to let Clint talk about that.
The school district of Amery will expand and upgrade resources and access to technology for all students. This will be accomplished through an annual review of curriculum, instructional needs, as well as reflective based on educational practices by August 2020. And there's 2 measurable action steps to evaluate the effectiveness of it through technology and device ratio in each building, then develop a collaborative approach between curriculum and technology. They kind of blend in together. So basically, currently we have team level meetings, building level meetings, curriculum meetings, and district technology meetings quarterly throughout the year, and that's where we all get together and brainstorm our ideas and come up with the recommendations for the board. And these meetings will be ongoing throughout the school year and beyond in the future. The last measurable action is evaluate the long-range fiscal goals for maintaining and updating educational technology, determine the need for additional resources. And there's one evidence during the second half of 18-19 school year, we had some teachers piloting Google Classroom, and they gave very high remarks with that classroom. So in the beginning of the 1920 school year, we introduced it to staff, and Microsoft and Google both are being used by all teachers throughout the district. And looking back, it was a good call just because of COVID. I don't know where we'd be if we didn't do it beginning last year. It was been a train wreck. The other evidence of this would be in the last 3 years, we've implemented a 1-to-1 device ratio for grades 3 through 12 with Windows laptops, and about 80% of a 1-to-1 scenario for grades preschool through 2nd grade with iPads. In 1920 2020 school year, the lease of the 1,020 laptops that supply 6 through 12 students and district staff is end of that leases this year. So over the course of the year, this previous year, we've had several technology meetings discussing device refresh and options for students 6 through 12 and the staff. With the recommendations of the technology committees, we will be buying back 250 of the leased devices for district staff and mobile carts within classrooms. And for the students 6 through 12, we'll be leasing Chromebooks for the next 4 years. And if you're wondering about the elementary and intermediate school, we still have 1 more year on that lease, so we'll be revisiting that issue, that lease next year. Any questions? Thank you.
Did you guys all get together tonight and plan your wardrobe choices? I think Mr. Meyer was, what happened to Mr. Fern? He got left out.
They didn't see you to him all the time.
Odd man out, huh? I think Mr. Meyer had his shirt on too, didn't he? Yeah, see? Odd man out.
All right, the next
Look, I am
informational item on the agenda is the Polk County District Administrators, the Polk County District Administrators meeting.
Okay, tomorrow morning, here on campus at the middle school, we are hosting 9 districts, 9 district administrators, Polk County Health, and all of the school nurses for schools that have a school nurse. And the timing is fortuitous in that the guidance in regards to reopening schools in the fall came out this morning. So as you see on the agenda there, those 9 districts are going to be talking about a variety of topics, and the first bullet point is the large portion of conversation, and the rest will follow, so to speak. The guidance is 87 pages long. We're not going to sift through 87 pages in 60 minutes. That's not likely to occur. But what we're trying to do is come up with a unified response as a county, and Brian from Polk County Health is going to help us do that. And the second item on the second bullet point there under the 9 a.m. agenda is the item that Brian's really there for, to help us with what our protocol is going to be for students and staff throughout Polk County. What do we do when someone tests positive or has exposure to someone that's positive? And that's what he is going to help us with. He already has created a flow chart that districts have begun to use. And then there are a variety of items underneath that, items that affect every single district in the entire state, frankly, every single district in the nation. And we have to come up with how we feel about those and come up with perhaps a unified response. Some of them we've already acted on. You've already taken action on some of those. Then there is a DPI Zoom meeting tomorrow morning with WASDA, which is the district administrators group, and then the John Forrester is also here. He is, in essence, the liaison between districts and the state senate and state assembly and the governor's mansion. And then lastly, the district administrators are going to have further conversation after that. There's a lot to figure out. I don't expect that all of us are going to be on the same page, because those are 9 districts with 9 unique sets of circumstance. But it's nice to be able to see what other people are doing, because we are borrowing from each other excessively, and we've been doing that at every building for the better part of 3 months. And perhaps 9 of us together can have greater success than any of us in isolation. Now, in-house, and I'm sort of jumping ahead to letter D on the informational items, in-house, what we've already done in preparations for the fall. June 2nd, the district team met. District team is 16 people wide. It's all of our supervisors and administrators. June 16th, we met again, talking about the fall. We are set to meet again on July 7th, right after the 4th of July. We were waiting for the guidance, and now we have it. Then we can create what we feel is a plan that we can bring here to the board. In closed session, a short time ago, we decided it's probably best to have a working session of the board prior to our July board meeting. So we're going to do a working session of the board in open session so folks can hear our conversations about those topics and more. And then after that, at the board meeting in July, we can roll out for our public what our plan is for the fall all of this is subject to change. This thing has been a moving target all along, and it's been fast moving. So it could be very different now than it is in a month. We just don't know. Now, if parents are interested in chiming in, and if our teachers and other staff are interested in chiming in, you'll have our opportunity to do that. There's a survey going out tomorrow to both of those groups, and it's really twofold in topic. First, tell us about your experiences from March, April, May, and second, tell us about your hopes and thoughts about September 1st and beyond. We want to hear from folks, and hopefully folks will chime in. The Middle Border Conference as a group has created a survey pretty much everybody's using. It's Google Forms. It'll take you about 10-15 minutes to finish if you really wanted to get after it, 5-10 if you wanted to go quicker. And we want to know how people feel. So look for that to come out tomorrow afternoon after this meeting is done. Any questions for me about the meeting that we're having tomorrow?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. So, did you cover the legislative update? As you said, you skipped ahead, but...
Well,
there's
the
always
only
so much more.
legislative update is they down there in Madison have been consumed in the same way that public schools and everybody else has with COVID-19 and how you can accommodate for that. So really, the big update is the release of the guidance from the DPI today, and it's 87 pages in length, so if you're looking for a sleep aid, this would be a way to do it. It's 87 pages and about 1,000 links within, so it's quite a document. So that's it.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Next on to action items. The first action item on the agenda is the donations to the district.
Okay, donations to the district. You'll see on the screen, we have a very generous donation through a GoFundMe campaign from the Loveroods, Eric and Emily Loverood. Eric is a graduate of Amery. I'm going to guesstimate 08, 09, somewhere around there. I'm sure someone's got the number better than I do, but that's approximately when. And also we had a $250 donation from the Amery VFW Auxiliary 7929. All of that money will be going to gift cards to give to folks that come on Mondays to pick up meals. I'll be heading over to Dick's this week and getting Dick's cards. We'll basically take the amount of folks that we're serving and put it into $2,500, and whatever we got is what we'll give to each and every one of them in the form of a gift card. So thank you to the Loveroods for making that happen, and thank you to the VFW Auxiliary. In addition to that, we had, at the end of the school year, we had some teacher work days where folks came in, and Doug Reinhardt from Dick's called me up out of the clear blue and said, I'd like to do something for Staff Appreciation Week. And I said, well, they're not really here, but we're going to be here at the end of the month because technically Staff Appreciation is the beginning of May and they weren't here. So Dick's helped arrange the Brew Pub pizza truck, and on one day they served the elementary and high school, and on the other day the middle school and intermediate school. So lunch was covered depending on where you were located one of the 2 days. If you were in the district office, it was covered on both days, because I know that Andy and I went both days. I'm not sure about Becky, but I know I did. So a big thank you to Doug and a big thank you to Dick's for recognizing our staff in that way as a little, no pun intended, a little slice of fun for us. So
Oh, I think you intended that.
I did. It was pretty lame, I know.
I move to accept the donations as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the donations are accepted.
And if the
thank
truth be
you.
told, the pizza was already accepted.
I was going to say,
And thank
Gift
you.
cards,
it's a
not
little
yet.
late for the pizza.
We can ratify though.
Thank you very much, though.
But thanks to everybody for those donations. That's really awesome. And I'm sure the families really, really appreciate those gift cards. So thanks for all the hard work for those people.
All right, the next action item, final reading of certified staff handbooks.
Okay, when we met last in the month of May, there was an item that we wanted to talk about further in the month of June, because none of these changes become effective until July 1. And that change is the HRA section for the unfortunate circumstance where we would have a staff member who would be deceased, and how that all plays out. And Becky's scrolling down to find that location. It's coming up here rather soon. And there it is. So the green verbiage that you see there is from our plan document for HRA that we received from EBC, and it reads, there's the portion that's stricken in essence, and then the green portion read underneath that, letter B. Upon the death of an HRA-eligible employee, the vesting requirement of 15 years of service and age 56 will be waived. Rather, the HRA will be considered vested upon death, provided that the employee has completed at least 10 years of service with the district. The deceased employee's spouse and/or IRS has been added. Dependents may use these HRA funds to continue medical reimbursements. The question that was asked last month, should it say beneficiaries? Well, the governing agency over EBC is IRS, and it's supposed to say IRS, and it must say dependents. It cannot say beneficiaries, and that's straight from the IRS. And a rule of thumb that I always live by, if the IRS says it's so, then it's so. So IRS is what it's supposed to say. If a deceased HRA employee has not completed 10 years of service, the HRA balance will be returned to the district's HRA trust account. No additional contributions will be made to the district. If it's not claimed, it doesn't come back to the district. It goes into the trust that EBC has. So that's language that didn't exist but 3 years ago. So this is the most recent version of it, courtesy of EBC and IRS. So that was the change you asked to come back with, and that's the change that we have brought to you.
And we have no control over that vesting or the 15 years of service. Is that that can't be an IRS requirement?
The 15 years, or the 56, or the 10, which are you referring to?
Well, it's 15 years or 56.
15 years and 56 to be vested and to
To
retire
be
in the
vested.
district.
Otherwise, if you hadn't and you died, it would be 10 years. You had to at least get 10 years for it to be considered vested.
Well, let me take that in two questions, in essence. The 15 and 56, you can choose as a district to do whatever you want to do on those two numbers. But in regards to the IRS, that has to be the 10 years. You could be 0, it could be 7, it could be 12, it could be whatever you want for a number of years. 3 years ago, there was no provision at all. And when a staff member passed, we had absolutely no idea what to do with that HRA money. There was money there, so we had to write policy on the fly to address that. So it can be something different than 10 if you want it to be something different than 10. In the 15 and 56 can as well. We have a certified staff group that's run through that, and we've talked about 15 and 56, but that's very standard throughout the state. 56, 57, 58, but almost everyone's at 15 or 20 for years. So that's the language change that we have crafted for you to adopt here this evening.
So I guess help me understand. So if there was a person that worked for the district for 4 years and they were 45 years old and they passed away and they had contributed to that HRA account.
It doesn't go to the dependents, it goes to the HRA trust.
It goes back to the
That's what the policy says, yes.
They're not contributing, the district is contributing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the district's contribution portion.
Now, there has been some confusion in regards, are these their retirement dollars? These are not their retirement dollars. That's WRS.
Right.
And some folks have made that mistake. Staff people make that mistake. WRS is a whole different entity.
Right.
This is HRA that's used to pay for their health insurance in retirement.
Right.
Are they able to contribute if they want to?
Into their HRA?
Yeah.
I don't know they're not. That's the WRS item where they can
Okay.
contribute above and beyond whatever they wanted to. It's their retirement dollars if they wanted to.
An HSA they can.
In HSA, they
Yes.
can, up to a certain amount.
Okay, all right, so that makes sense.
And the district also
And
contributes
that's
to an
whether it's
HSA.
family or
HSA,
seven.
yes.
Yep.
So this is not regarding the HSA, just
Not.
HRA?
Just
Oh, okay,
HRA.
all right.
This is a post-employment pool of money for them to use to pay for their health insurance in retirement.
I'll make a motion to accept the changes.
I'd second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the changes to the HRA clause is approved.
Thank you.
Is that for the whole certified staff handbook? I mean, is that,
Oh, are
That's
we
our
doing the
last
whole-
version of it. You've seen it
I know,
three.
so do we need to make a motion that, I mean, he just said,
Oh.
I don't know.
Well,
Changes made.
the changes.
Yeah, so does that
Yeah,
just
to
apply
the
to the whole
handbook.
document?
Yeah.
That would be my assumption in that
Yeah,
we're going
I
to
just want to
print
make
with
sure
this.
we're covering the whole
Very
document,
good
not just
question.
that
All right.
section of it.
Yeah, no, I think you said the handbook.
So the next action item, approval of the 2021 open enrollment
Oh,
applications.
you missed contracts.
Yep, contracts.
I thought that was all under C.
Nope, that was
Okay.
B.
B.
C is contracts.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, now we are to the 2021 staff contracts. That's what I was
Okay.
looking at.
The next, we have done support staff letters of appointment. We did that back in early May. We did teaching contracts. That was done in early May. The next step in the process is for administrative contracts, and what's included there are your supervisory positions as well, transportation, food service, IT, et cetera, et cetera. All of those contracts are the next item for your approval. Just so you know, the next step after that is extended contracts for teachers that do extended work, whether that be during summertime or just before school, and also extra C contracts. But extra C doesn't go out for a little bit yet because we're still trying to fill some positions, up to and including, if you didn't know, 3 positions for volleyball that Tom is unable to coach all by himself.
Yeah.
So we're going to get that one out there heavily and fill them by the end of the evening. So we're looking for approval on administrative and non-certified staff contracts.
I'll make a motion that we approve those contracts.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the staff contracts are approved. Now, on to the approval of the 2021 open enrollment applications.
If you see up on the screen, we have the greens and the reds. The greens are those who are open enrolling in for next year, and the reds are those who are open enrolling out for next year. We've got 15 in the first batch and 22 in the second. Obviously, you're looking at places such as Clear Lake and New Richmond and Osceola and so forth. Those are our neighbors, and we are their neighbors. So this deadline was expanded a little bit into the month of June because of COVID-19. It usually is earlier than this that you see this list, but things were pushed as in most everything has been pushed these days. So this is up for you to approve. We are in essence approving folks to come in the district and go to school here, and there's not much you can do about those who choose to go elsewhere. That's pretty much that ship sailed, so to speak.
Is there a set deadline, or can people still choose to open enroll?
You can open it in an alternative window. You can open enroll all year long. You simply need to articulate a reason as to why you want to do that. It used to be just the month of February, but those days are over. Now you could do it at any point in time, and it does happen throughout the year, which is why our enrollment number is never entirely accurate from week to week. It always changes because there's always movement of kids.
Where? Medford and McFarland?
Medford and McFarland are virtual outfits,
Okay, that makes
so those are virtual school
That's what I was
students.
just going to comment.
Yeah, it would be a tough commute to
I
Medford.
remember this from last year where they're like,
It would also be a
Right.
tough
3
commute to
days?
McFarland. Those are virtual outfits, yes.
So we have 23 virtual?
No, those are not all virtual kids.
No.
On that list, my hunch is the virtuals would be McFarland, Medford, and Appleton.
Okay.
The rest are
so
physically,
four.
4 total kids. The rest would be physically driving wherever that it states they're going.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to improve the open enrollment applications?
Yep.
Keith, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the open enrollment applications are approved. Next to the property liability insurance deductible.
All right. A couple weeks ago, I met with Jim Leadholm from Leadholm Insurance regarding our annual renewal of our insurance, and went through our insurances, and I noticed, and he noticed, quite a bit of increase in our property insurance, and he said he'd go back and take a look and see what we can do regarding that. And the main thing he came up with, which actually is a good thing, is that if we increase our deductible from $4,500 to $5,000, that we can actually save $4,849 off of our premium. So that'll actually help be a little more in line with what the rest of the insurance increases are. And that's basically it. I just need your approval to increase the deductible on the insurance.
What was the
Yeah,
deductible?
that makes
before?
sense, $500.
$4,500 goes up to
$500 to save
Yeah.
$4,500.
Yeah, but part of what I do is each year I look at that for the budgeting standpoint. I always look at it, and I always meet with them to go over, and I make sure there's nothing more than the usual 2-3% increase at most. You want to make sure, and then that's kind of stuck out what that amount did. So I was glad that they were able to come back and say that's why we have them to come up with ways to save us money. So that's why we have them as our go-between. So definitely.
How often do we use our property insurance?
It's only if you have an issue with one of the buildings that you would have to. So, or if the property, some damage or anything like that.
Hail damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elementary had hail damage.
We had
So
that this year.
how often do we use that?
Not
Do we
very.
No.
And it's met, we usually hail damage, it's met right then and
We did
there.
just have that roof.
For
that,
sure.
Yeah. That we used it for. We had to.
Is it usually over or under 5,000 deductibles? Like
You use up your 5,000 and you're done.
Yeah,
I
usually.
mean, every year you're probably going to use it. You're
I was
going to
going to
have
say,
something.
like, how often do you, like,
Yeah.
are under 4,500?
No.
Not likely.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
So it makes sense.
And the hail damage was well in excess of that, because as you know, hail damage is going to rack up a total in a big hurry.
Make a motion that we approve the insurance deductible.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the property liability insurance deductible is approved. The next item is the use of district facilities for the months of July and August.
Okay, last month you saw a resolution to keep facilities closed. The title here should indicate that we have rebooted our efforts in regards to how we want to proceed with events that take place on school grounds and in school buildings. It is titled Resolution to Reopen School Facilities. This would be for July 1 moving forward, because remember, by state mandate, we are closed for extracurriculars and instruction through June 30th, which is coming up rather soon here. So we want to reopen our facilities. If you go down to the point where it states, therefore, so here is what you'd be acting on this evening, 4 bullet points in essence. Therefore, be it resolved, the School District of Amery will allow the public to use outdoor facilities of the district. Such facilities include school forests, playgrounds, athletic facilities, effective immediately. Therefore, be it resolved that the School District of Amery will allow school-sponsored events and activities to take place on school campus and in school buildings where the district has created a plan for those events to be socially distanced, effective immediately, events such as graduation. Therefore, be it resolved that the School District of Amery will allow non-school sponsored events and activities to take place on school campus of the Amery schools where those leading such events and activities have provided the district with a plan for how those events will be socially distanced, effective immediately, and those events could be almost anything. There's all sorts of groups that are on campus and in buildings. And therefore, be it resolved that the School District of Amery will participate in WIAA athletics when said co-curricular activities are allowed to resume, and fully understand that all orders from the WIAA regarding such events will be followed effective immediately. The WIAA has not weighed in yet as to what we're going to do with the fall, but I'm sure it's on their radar as item number 1. So those are the 4 items that this resolution would do. So I'll open up to you to conversation and see how you want to proceed. And here are some examples of events that take place in 4 different categories: athletic events, WIAA events, community ed events, and then academic and other type of events, because they are very different one from the next in what you're going to be doing on campus. And we have some examples for you if you want some food for thought, so to speak. For instance, the graduation plan for this year. This is a letter that we're ready to send out, in that it's dated the 24th of June. Josh obviously is eager to send this out. So I'm going to let Josh talk about that, because I know that's an item that's on your mind. One of you actually has a graduate coming up here, so I'll let Josh talk about that.
So obviously, we've spent a lot of time studying the guidance from Polk County, from the state, and I guess the important thing to realize with these guidelines is none of this is a law, it's recommendations. We probably aren't following everything to a T here in terms of the size of the amount of people. There's a couple things going on with why we're our preference is to use the gym. You know, a million people said, why aren't you just doing this out at the football field? Well, we've got a number of things. Number one, we don't have the same facility that, say, Osceola does for doing this. We don't have Wi-Fi capabilities out there to stream the event. Weather, rain, there's only 2 entrances onto our bleachers, and for those of you that are out there, 95% of the people are going to go up the same set of bleachers and handrails. And so, in our opinion, the best situation is to have it in the high school gym, socially distanced as much as possible. We've talked about a number of different scenarios. If we permitted each graduating student to have 2 tickets, we put all of the graduates on the floor. Mr. Fern and I we've practiced, we've laid out the gym floor, we've measured, we've put chairs out there. It puts, approximately 115 adults on either side of the bleachers, but when you spread them out, 2 here and 2 there, 6 feet, it fills up pretty darn fast. We did some math with our numbers. That puts us at about 24% capacity in the gym. And so we feel under the circumstances, that's a safe thing to do. We realize that, with split families as an example, or grandma and grandpa really want to be there too, why can't you allow more? We feel as though the line you have to draw it someplace from a safety standpoint. But the beauty is we will be able to stream it live on the We Are network. So here's your excuse to not go to the ceremony if you ever want to get out of it. You can watch from home, you can watch from your car. We think we can make this work out great.
So the resolution states that we want a plan for doing an activity that's school-sponsored. This is a plan for something, maybe the biggest ticket item of the spring, typically graduation. So this is an articulated plan, and Josh, Jeff, and other members of the high school staff have really spent a lot of time on making this as safe as possible and as meaningful as possible. And we've done a heck of a job doing events that we don't ordinarily do in a virtual way really well. And I think this will be an excellent opportunity for our graduates. We would rather do it the normal way. I get it. We all would. But it's not normal times.
There are a lot of districts kind of keeping their eye closely on us. We're the pioneers on this. Other schools have pretty much said they're drawing the line with the virtual and they're done. A couple schools are going to do some things after us, but in my principal chain of communication, Josh, we're waiting to see how things go for you is kind of what I've been hearing.
They said the same thing about awards night, and we did very well there.
Yeah. So I guess, we're obviously going to do our part to, follow as many guidelines as possible, but I really want to be able to answer questions from you guys because ultimately we need your blessing to do this.
Well, I think it sounds like a safe plan for graduation. I guess my question would be about some of the other resolutions, which would, for example, the third one, allowing non-school sponsored events and activities to take place on the school campus. I mean, who approves these plans? I mean, do they have to come to us and every month?
Nope, I think they come to the
district.
I think they're going to come to me, and I'm going to have to have conversation with them about, for instance, we're talking about 4th of July right now. I mean, the fireworks display and how that involves school campus, so we need to come up with a plan for how that's going to all go. So there are all kinds of events that will take place, and I'll simply have to meet with those folks.
Okay, that's good. I just didn't want to have a board meeting every single night.
No. We just don't want it to be show up and do your thing, business as usual, because it's not business as usual. It's different times. There are other examples that are more athletic related, and Jeff's going to speak to those. Open weight room is an example here, and through his conversations with Jesse Rose at the high school, they have created a pretty strong plan as well.
Believe it or not, we received guidance from the WIA after I had submitted this to Becky in the district office, so we've updated what we're able to do. I could tell you that meeting with all middle border athletic directors, all middle border schools will open their weight rooms beginning July 1 or a few days after the 4th of July, July 6th, I believe. So, but this is just an example of what a plan would be. As we go down the list here, it says number of lifters. we would allow 16 athletes in to a session. 8 would be in the weight room working out. We have 8 racks in our weight room. And then 8 kids would be in the gym or preferably outside if the weather allows us to, doing conditioning. And then halfway through their 1-hour sessions, halfway through they would switch. Kids need to sign up online, so we have no more than 16. And the recommendation from the WIA is that you have the same 16 kids working out in those sessions the entire month of July. We don't want to mix kids, mix groups, those type of things. Obviously, vacations will come up, and we're going to have to use our judgment and work with individual athletes on that. Screening process. So if you flip to the second page, these are all recommendations from the WIA. So the screening process, we're not going to be taking temps as kids come in the door. It's up to the athletes and their families, and I know we all know how that probably, you can imagine your kids, I don't know if you're going to check their temps when they leave, but that's going to be our recommendation to the families and to the athletes, that they make sure that they're coming to our facilities without a 100.4 or above temperature. We got to keep records every day of who's in our facility and who's not in our facility. We'll have the general list, but we got to make sure if Johnny's there Monday through Friday, we have that data so that if he happens to be COVID positive, we can communicate that information out, what group it was. Example of some symptoms that we want our athletes and their families to be aware of. Those are COVID-19 flu-like symptoms. Disinfecting our weight room, we'll have disinfectant spray in there, we'll have towels in there. Our athletes will be expected to disinfect, if they're on the bench press, disinfect the bar, the weights that they use after they perform that lift, and then also we'll have 2 instructors in there too. They will disinfect that during, when we switch in the transition halfway through, and then after each session. So the sessions are our sessions. We have 15 minutes in between each session to clean for our athletes. Water bottles, recommendation is that we don't provide any water bottles. We don't have a uniform drinking station. They have to bring their own water bottles. They don't want us to use locker rooms. They want us to inform the kids to go home and shower and wash your clothes. Again, I can't guarantee that's going to happen, but we'll do the best we can. If we smell something, we're going to tell them to leave.
Why am I not surprised that Char's laughing?
I've had 3 teenage boys. I know how that works.
They naturally just start smelling on the way to the weight room. So. The session sign-up, that'll be done ahead of time. We're going to send out a Microsoft form to all of our athletes. It'll go out on social media. It'll go out through the email, so they have an opportunity to sign up online. I had asked myself, what if a student athlete has COVID symptoms? What do you do? Well, the WIA came out with some guidelines. Essentially, they got to be out at least 10 days, and they have to have their physicians, they have to have a note from their primary care provider or physician that they can participate again. You can read it. They are free of fever and respiratory symptoms for at least 3 days without the use of fever-reducing medicine, and 10 days has passed since symptoms first appeared. But that's something that could possibly happen, and we have to be aware of that and work with those individual athletes. The nice thing, we're going to rely on the healthcare system to help us out with this. We're not going to determine if somebody's ready to come back.
Which is the nature of the meeting tomorrow with Polk County Health. They're our governing agency in regards to what we should and should not do. In the notion of you don't have a vested interest in how we run open weight room. That's not what you do as a board. That's a micromanagement that I don't want you to have to do, and nor do you need to weigh in on graduation, frankly, albeit that's a huge event, but you don't. We simply wanted to provide you with some examples. What would plans look like? These are plans. If you're going to do an event on campus, give us a plan. These are 2 well-executed plans that will account for people's safety. So the resolution really, in essence, is 4-part: opening our facilities, school forest, softball field, etc., school events, non-school events, and lastly, WIAA events when they let us know what's happening there. That's the resolution. So we'll be back open for business on July 1, but smartly. That's the goal.
And what about liability? About anybody that contracts COVID?
Here's what our legal counsel has said on liability, twofold. DPI legal counsel through Boardman Clark, Mike Julka, who is their legal counsel that does work with schools, has said the following about liability for school systems in regards to COVID. If you are failing to follow an order, then you're going to be on the hook. You're going to be liable. Well, we're going to follow every order, and the only order that we know of that exists still is the one through June 30th. We're following it. We've been following it since March. If you are making a good faith effort to follow the guidelines as they presently exist, you are not liable. Because it would be very difficult to say this person contracted COVID-19 because you weren't following the guidelines when they could have contracted COVID-19 almost anywhere. So we are going to follow the guidelines to the best of our ability. Is it going to be to the T? Well, we're going to have that conversation in July. In some cases, it won't be exactly to the T because it's just not practicable to do so. In second, we have had counsel with Lead Home Insurance, our insurance provider, and they have said the exact same thing through Tricor, which is the group that's their umbrella. And they have said the exact same thing. Your liability is to follow orders. We will, and follow the guidance to the best of your ability. And we are going to do just that. So that's your liability. And that's not just for Amery School District. That's for every employer in the entire country. So, good question. And it's a question that's been on my mind, too, by all means.
Well, I think these are reasonable things, and looks like plans are well laid out for at least these two events. And if Dr. Derfler is comfortable making the approval on plans that come in from outside sources, then I would move that we go ahead and approve this resolution to open our school campus.
Is there a second?
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the plan to reopen and use of the district facilities starting July 1st is approved.
Thanks to Mr. Fern and for Mr. Gold, because I'm the one with the graduate. I know that's probably selfish, but this is going to be a really happy day to see him actually go through and all the rest of the kids. And I have a lot of just admiration for that class in general. So all the work that you've all put in to make that possible and to be a pioneer to make that happen for these kids and to have something normal this year for them is to be commended. You're going out on a limb and taking a huge chance. So thanks.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is the personnel action.
Well, you see the personnel items up on the screen. We have a couple of resignations. We have a retirement that I'll speak to in a moment, and then we have some new employment contracts for positions. Some of them mirror the positions from above. We are nearly finished on hiring. It's been an interesting season of Zoom interviews, and we're ready to get back to face-to-face versions of that, but hopefully sooner rather than later, but we're not quite there yet. The retirement, typically I have something more to say, but that retirement came in around lunch today, so apparently getting in right before the bell. That's Rick Wilson. He's a custodian that works in this building. Rick's been in district part-time capacity for 11 years, and he's been full-time for all of the last 7. I will say Rick comes through the district office every single day, and there is not a friendlier person you will ever meet. If someone's going to be friendly about emptying my garbage and recycling and do it with a smile, I'm all in favor of that, and he is just that. He is as nice a guy as there is, so congratulations to him for his retirement.
Thanks. Great. I'll move to approve the personnel action items as laid out.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Last opportunity to mention that we're hiring for volleyball coaches.
Volleyball coach. Anyone that has skills.
Good point.
All right.
Here's how we're going to do it.
Interview by Zoom.
3.
It looks like
Okay.
there was one on the list.
Oh, it's a
Well,
CC.
yeah.
Freshman.
All right. There's
CT
no
is
reason to go
freshman.
back into closed session, so I will take. Keith just made a motion to adjourn, and I'll take a second. Okay, I'll do a roll call. Aaron.
Yes.
Shar.
Yes.
Keith. Yep. All right. We're adjourned.